Entrepreneurship can be really hard, and when you're doing it by yourself, trying to navigate the terrain, it can almost be impossible. That's why we created the Entrepreneur Circle. Every episode, you're going to hear from incredible entrepreneurs who are in the same trenches that you are in. And we're going to talk through what's working, what's not working, whether it be in marketing, finance, or anything in between. We're here to talk business and figure out how each of us can rise together. So welcome to the circle. Let's dig in. When you look at the most successful companies, the most successful entrepreneurs, and the most successful teams, there's one thing that they have that has become their secret sauce, and it's called synergy. When there is synergy between team members, between processes, between departments, it exponentially increases productivity. And let me dive into why. Now, this episode, we're going to talk about the two pillars that are divided by an invisible line, and that's silos and synergies. Are we living on the right side of the line when it comes to how well we're integrating our processes and our people and our technologies? Is there synergy in our processes and our technology? Do our processes leverage the systems that we're paying for to its maximum ability? We are in the era of technology, and every single one of us, no matter what industry we are in, we're paying for some type of software. If you're like me, we're paying for a lot of different softwares. We have project management softwares. We have different AI platforms that we use, scheduling, CRMs, you name it, we got it. Client management systems. And one thing I noticed last year when I was able to actually zoom out of the day-to-day and look at the business objectively was that we weren't leveraging all the functionalities of the systems that we were paying for. And quite frankly, we were flushing money down the toilet by paying for systems that had overlapping functionalities. So we did a deep dive audit, and we found that we could cancel a handful of our things and consolidate our systems. And once we were able to do that, it created synergy in our processes because our team didn't have to jump from one software to another software to complete a task. Everything was done in one place. Synergies, that's what we're going to be talking about. That's just one example, but it's a synergy in the three pillars. I learned this from, honestly, my first client, Kimberling, at Third Stage Consulting. They're a digital transformation and a consulting company. I learned from him that any business runs off of three pillars. It's people, processes, and technology. What I'm telling you is that between those three pillars, you either have a silo or you have synergy. And you need to decide which side of the line you're going to sit on. Are you creating synergies between your people, processes, and technology? Or are you allowing for silos to stay? Because the reality is, unless we are intentionally trying to create synergy between our people, processes, and technology, it will automatically fall into a silo. Now let's dig into this. Let's look at the synergies that need to happen within each bucket: people, processes, technology. First, let's look at people. I think this is the most important piece of this puzzle because a business is only as good as its people, right? I think there's a few things that we all can incorporate, whether you have a team or not. You either have a team or you have partners, you have clients. No matter what, there's synergies that can be created if you do it intentionally. For instance, are you checking in with your clients? If you, as the owner of your business, have been able to remove yourself from the day-to-day, congratulations. That's a huge, huge milestone that you've reached. I think there's a pitfall that many of us fall into of, oh, my team's got that. My team has that covered. They do their monthly calls. They check in with the clients on a regular basis. I don't need to. But the reality is you are lead on this. Your clients should hear from you. Is there synergy between the owner and the clients? Is there synergy between the owner and the partners? And is there synergy between the owner and the team? That's level one. When it comes to the team, there are specific things that you got to pour into to make sure that your team is feeling synergy amongst each other. It all comes down to communication, and it all comes down to trust. tangible things that we can all do as a team, as employers, as employees, whoever you are listening, as a leader. There's something that you can incorporate, and that's how you run your one-on-one meetings and how you run your team meetings. For us, we have a call every Monday, and that team call, we typically started off with a how is everybody doing professionally and personally on a 1 to 5 scale. And all of us go around and we share what we have going on professionally and what we have going on personally and how we're feeling about it. And there's times where people come in and say, I'm at a 3, man. I just had some big health issues. Or I'm at a 5. I just had this huge win personally and I'm so excited. It goes beyond the surface level professional conversations when you're on your team calls. Yeah, we have the typical banter. That's what a lot of teams do. But I think when you really take the time and make the space for people to share personally and professionally what's going on, it creates a connection that's deeper. It helps people know each other on a more personal level. And when you do that, you get a better result. I don't know if anybody listening played team sports, but for me, I played volleyball growing up, and then I ended up coaching for a bit as well. And the importance of having the team outings. You go out to dinner, you go do a team bonding exercise, you play games, something other than just practice. That is a critical part of a team success because you have to build that camaraderie. You have to be able to communicate on the court. You have to be able to talk to each other, call it, and be in tune with each other. The same thing rings true in your business. When the team feels connected on a deeper level, it ultimately translates into everybody working together on a higher frequency because they actually know, like, and trust each other. We become friends, right? So that's number 1 is the communication. And then that is an easy segue into trust because ultimately, when you know somebody, you begin to, build that trust. But even further, the trust comes from when somebody needs something or asks you to do something, it is done. The team executes and they can count on each other to execute. And they know that not one person on the team is going to drop the ball because everybody's bought in on the vision and everybody knows what they need to get done. They're organized in how to keep track of it. They know what they're doing. That's trust in business, specifically when we're talking about a team. Now, let's talk about people when it comes to partnerships. So this is the last piece of the puzzle for people, right? We talked about clients, we talked about team. Now we're going to talk about partners. What I've found, when you find the right partner in business, whether it's a referral partner, a partner that provides a complementary service that you are passing business to, that type of relationship has the power to grow your company when you find the right partners. So let's talk really quick about how to find the right partners where you can create synergy. And then 2, how do you create and maintain that synergy? When you're looking for partners to build your company, you're looking for people who have the same audience as you, the same clientele as you. For me, since I'm B2B, my partners would probably be other B2B companies who are contracted out. So HR consultants, CPAs, business law firms, people who work with businesses would be good business partners. Now, what do we set up with other businesses? We set up a partnership agreement where it's like, okay, I'll refer to you, you refer to me. If I need help with this, you're here. That's the bread and butter of it. Now, there's a difference here because I will never forget what I learned when it comes to somebody who is a referral partner and somebody who's a strategic partner. A referral partner is just someone like, oh yeah, I'll pass you business as it comes. If I hear of anybody, I will, send them your way. Okay, cool. A strategic partner is somebody that you sit down with and you have them lay out their process and you lay out your process and you see where each of you can complement each other's workflows. That is a strategic partnership. That is where the synergies and partnerships are created. My husband, he works at a company called Ship Offers, where, they're helping businesses with fulfillment and logistics for supplements, protein powders, etc. They struck up an incredible partnership with another company called ClickBank, who is essentially the platform that these businesses go to sell. It was like peanut butter and jelly, and both of their companies grew exponentially. And now there are a handful of other incredible partners that they're working with that are doing the same thing. And it's been beautiful to watch. And I've learned a lot from it. And just the power of having the right partners is something that none of us should take lightly. It could completely revolutionize our businesses. So that's the people aspect of silos versus synergies. When we have a silo in our people pillar, that is probably the most debilitating piece of a business's growth. If you're trying to do everything by yourself, or you have somebody on your team who's trying to do everything by themselves, your team is not talking and having meetings without you to collaborate and figure out different ways to execute on an initiative, it's going to be really hard to grow and create that synergy. And silos, they're essentially a silo. When you look at silo versus synergy in business, when people are working in a silo, the equation is 1 + 1 = 2. When people are working in synergy, 1 + 1 = 25. There is an exponential difference in productivity, in customer experience, and in results when we are able to unlock those synergies that help us take our business to the next level. So let's pivot. Now let's look at processes. Remember, we have people, processes, technology. We have synergies and silos within each, and then synergies and silos amongst all three. The ideal scenario is that we want all three of these pillars to be working in tandem together for growth. That is how we unlock growth. If you're listening, you have processes in place for your business. If you don't, stop right now and go do that. I recommend going to Loom. I'll put a link in the description. I have fallen in love with Loom and their AI feature because you can make a video, walk through the process, and then at the end of the video, you can make Loom's AI feature, turn it into an SOP, and it adds the link at the bottom, and there's your training. So I highly recommend that. But there are processes in place when you're a small business, and then they need to be revisited on an ongoing basis. Your SOPs are not a set it and forget it type of thing. They are ever evolving, and it is important that they are documented so that you are able to scale, you are able to hire, and move your business forward. If you do not have processes in place where someone else can walk in and look at the documents, look at the videos, and understand how you're building, how you're growing, what you're doing, what are the operations, that is the number one thing you need to do to start. And I think the silos happen when tribal knowledge is kept tribal. What does that mean? When people are working in a business, a team, an owner, whatever, and they're keeping everything up here in their head, and they're just, I know how to do this, I just get it done. Rather than writing it down and as a process, that's tribal knowledge. And that creates silos. We could have an entire conversation around tribal knowledge, and maybe I'll see if I can get some friends on here for the next episodes to talk about this, because this is another business killer. When you have somebody who knows how to do everything, but they haven't written it down and it's all in their head, and then that person leaves, you're screwed. You're screwed, man. You are going to have such a hard time either coming in yourself to take over, because likely as a business, as the owner, you know how to do it yourself and hopefully you can take over. But then to backfill the role, it's going to be so much harder to train. You need to be able to write down your processes and turn them into SOPs. You need to be able to take your team and inspire them to do the same. Inspire them to take what's in their head and write it down. And that's where the synergies can happen, where every team member can switch jobs if they wanted to and come in for a day and execute on that person's job because they have the resources available. The difference between silos and synergies when it comes to your processes is essentially, how do we overcome tribal knowledge? Our process is in place where they can come in and plug and play. That's the goal. That's where you want synergy to be the most fruitful when it comes to your processes. Now in technology, we talked about technology a little bit. Let's dig deeper into this. When you look at the silos in your systems in place, it could look something like you have multiple systems or softwares that your team or that you are using that have overlapping functionalities. I'll give you an example. Last year, we were looking at our annual spend, and I'm like, why are we spending so much money on software? Okay, we're a fully remote company. Everything we do is on systems, so it should be like our biggest expense other than labor, but it was abnormally high. And when we did an audit, we were paying for things that, one, we weren't even using. That's my fault. I happened to do that. Like, ooh, this trial looks cool. I'm going to try this. And then I don't cancel it. So that was happening. And then number two, it was the fact that we had two systems in place that did the same thing. And we were using one system for one very specific task and the other for another very specific task. This was happening across probably 3 or 4 different systems. So when you look at the silo in that is, are we really maximizing the technology that we are using? Are we really looking in every facet to see how we can get the most data, how we can be the most organized and create the best workflows in this system? When you can really leverage technology, especially now when AI has been integrated into almost every technology out there and can give you the real-time data and statistics that could make your team and you way more efficient, way more effective, and save you money, we would be foolish to not really dive into the technologies that we have. So this is my call to action for you. If you have a business where you have a CRM or you have, different ERP systems or content management systems, warehouse management systems, whatever it may be, make sure that you have really taken advantage of what you're paying for. Make sure that there are not overlaps in system. And in some cases, maybe there will be, but minimize the overlap. If there's a way to consolidate the things you're doing on 2 different systems into one, you're able to save money, reduce the time it takes for your team to execute, and ultimately build the synergies that it'll take to create that exponential productivity. And ultimately, if you don't, you're going to waste your money, your time, your energy, and it's going to be another constraint. So as I wrap up this episode, I want you guys to look at the line that separates silos and synergies in your business. What are the things that can be integrated better together? What are the things that you can incorporate into your team meetings, into your collaborations with strategic partners? Who are new strategic partners that you could seek? How are we going to manage our processes and technologies to make sure that everything's working together? Processes and technology should all be working in synergy together. And when they are not, you have another restraint that's holding you back from growing. Your people all be documenting their processes regularly and be inspired to update those processes regularly. Your processes should flow very seamlessly with the technologies that you've chosen to work with. Your technology should be used very easily by your people. Your people should become experts at whatever software that you have. And if they aren't, there's an opportunity for you to train. That is how we create a functioning business, is when people, processes, and technologies are all working together in synergy. It's how we grow. This is how we build a business that can scale, which is what we're all here to do. And this is how we can build a business that ultimately one day somebody will want to buy if you choose to sell it. If you don't do those things, you will be stuck. So my friends, I hope that this is helpful for you, that you take this nugget with you and you work to incorporate more synergies into every aspect of your business and deflate any silos that exist. All right, be well. Bye-bye. Remember this as you go about your day today. The ideas that are on your heart for a reason. Do not ignore them. Tune into them. Tap in, lean in, understand them, and pursue them. If not you, then who? If this episode was helpful to you in any way, please like, share, comment, subscribe. It does wonders for our efforts, and it helps us to continue our mission of inspiring entrepreneurs and giving them the resources and the perspective we all need to take it to the next level. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Paresa Noble, and we'll catch you next time.